You are lying in bed. The room is completely dark. The house is silent, but your chest is tight, your heart is hammering against your ribs, and your mind is racing through a relentless, exhausting catalog of social interactions, unpaid bills, and vague, looming catastrophes. You tell yourself you are just stressed. You tell yourself you need to relax, to practice mindfulness, to breathe through it, but you cannot relax because you are not simply stressed. You are experiencing a profound biological betrayal. Your brain is running a high-alert survival program designed for a brutal, unforgiving world that no longer exists, and it is slowly tearing you apart from the inside. If you want to understand the hidden mechanics of your own biology, make sure to subscribe, because we are just scratching the surface of the evolutionary traps that govern your daily life. If you want to understand why your own mind feels like a hostile environment, you have to look past the modern psychological labels. You have to look at the deep time of your own biology. To understand why this is happening, we have to abandon the modern illusion that your mind is a rational, modern computer. It is not. It is a Stone Age engine trapped in a digital age. For the vast majority of human history, the environment in which your brain was forged was defined by immediate physical and lethal threats. A 2026 anthropological analysis of hunter-gatherer cortisol baselines has finally quantified what we only previously guessed. In the ancestral environment, stress was strictly acute. A predator appeared in the tall grass. A rival tribe encroached on your territory. A sudden storm threatened your shelter. The biological response was instantaneous. The amygdala flooded your system with cortisol and adrenaline. Your vision narrowed, your digestion halted, your muscles primed for explosive violence. And then, crucially, it ended. You either fought, you fled, or you died. The physical threat was resolved, and the physiological loop was closed. The stress hormone was metabolized, the body returned to baseline. But today, that loop is broken. The predator is no longer in the grass, it is in your inbox, it is in your bank account. It is in the quiet, gnawing realization of your own mortality. And because these modern threats cannot be physically fought or fled, the alarm system never turns off. You are trapped in a perpetual state of physiological preparation for a battle that will never happen. This brings us to a fundamental question. What is the evolutionary purpose of the fight or flight response? And why did nature design a system that causes us so much physical harm? The answer lies in a brutal mathematical reality of the Pleistocene epoch. In the ancestral environment, the cost of a false positive was incredibly low. If your brain misinterpreted the rustling of leaves as a lion and you sprinted away, you only lost a few hundred calories and experienced a few minutes of exhaustion. But the cost of a false negative was absolute. If you ignored the rustling leaves, assuming it was just the wind, you were eaten. Your genes were removed from the pool. Therefore, evolution did not optimize your brain for accuracy or comfort. It optimized it for paranoia. It optimized it for hypervigilance. A newly published 2025 neurobiology study on predictive threat processing reveals the exact mechanism of this ancient bias. The amygdala does not wait for concrete evidence of danger. It operates on a predictive algorithm, constantly scanning the environment for microanomalies and simulating worst-case scenarios. It is a threat detection engine running on a hair trigger. When the amygdala fires, it does not just send a signal. It hijacks your entire physiological architecture. It redirects blood flow away from your prefrontal cortex, the seat of logic and reason, and dumps it into your extremities. You literally lose the ability to think clearly because your brain is prioritizing the ability to swing a branch or sprint through the brush. This is why anxiety feels so physical. It is not just a thought. It is a full-body mobilization. Your pupils dilate to take in more light, your heart rate spikes to pump oxygen to your muscles, your blood thickens to prepare for the inevitable hemorrhage of combat. You are experiencing the exact biological sequence that allowed your ancestors to survive a saber-toothed cat, but you are experiencing it while staring at a glowing rectangle. The dissonance between the biological reality and the modern context is what creates the suffering. When you feel a sudden spike of anxiety in a crowded room or a sense of dread when your phone buzzes, you are not overreacting. You're experiencing the exact neural pathway that kept your ancestors alive. The anxiety is not a glitch. It is a perfectly functioning ancient alarm system. It is doing exactly what it was built to do. It is just doing it in a world where the alarms never stop ringing. If you find this perspective helpful, consider sharing this video with someone who needs to hear it. And let us continue down this rabbit hole together. But if this system kept us alive, Why do we have anxiety if it causes so much physical harm today? Why does it manifest as chronic insomnia, gastrointestinal distress, and cardiovascular strain? This is the hypervigilance paradox, a 2025 evolutionary psychology paper mapping the neural pathways of chronic distress highlights a fatal mismatch. The human brain evolved to solve physical problems with physical actions. When the ancestral human felt the surge of survival energy, they used it. They ran, they fought, they exerted massive physical effort to resolve the threat. Modern life, however, demands that we sit perfectly still while our biology screams at us to move. We are forced to absorb the physiological shock of abstract, unresolvable threats. An email from a boss carries the same neurochemical weight as a predator. But the required physical response is to sit quietly at a desk and type a polite reply. The energy has nowhere to go. It turns inward. The cortisol bathes your brain in a continuous state of toxic alertness. The immune system is suppressed. The digestive tract shuts down. The body begins to consume itself. We have taken a survival mechanism designed to save our lives and turned it into a slow, invisible poison. We are not poorly adapted to the modern world because we are weak. We are poorly adapted because our biology is too perfectly suited to a world of physical danger and utterly defenseless against a world of psychological abstraction. How does modern life trigger these ancient survival mechanisms so relentlessly? It is because we have replaced physical scarcity with infinite abstract information. Every notification, every headline, every social comparison is processed by the brain as a potential threat to your tribal standing or your physical survival. The brain cannot tell the difference between a tiger in the grass and a passive-aggressive comment on the internet. To it, both are lethal. Both require immediate total mobilization, and so you sit there vibrating with the kinetic energy of a hunted animal, completely paralyzed by the modern world. The modern environment is an evolutionary novelty. For millions of years, the environment was predictable, physical, and immediate. Today, it is abstract, digital, and perpetual. We have created a world where threats are no longer localized in space and time. A financial crisis, a global pandemic, a social media scandal, these are not acute events. They are chronic ambient pressures that seep into our consciousness and never leave. The brain, lacking the evolutionary hardware to process abstract, long-term threats, defaults to its only known survival strategy. It treats it as an immediate physical danger. This is why modern anxiety feels so exhausting. You are fighting a war on 1,000 invisible fronts, and your body is paying the price for every single skirmish. We have built a civilization that is entirely hostile to the biological reality of the human animal. We demand that the human machine operate at a constant, low-level hum of existential dread, and we call it normal. We call it productivity. But it is not normal. It is a profound systemic failure of our environment to match our biology. Before we reach the final synthesis, take a second to check the links in the description for more deep dives into evolutionary biology, and let me know in the comments what modern habit you think is an ancestral echo. Think about the sheer tragic scale of this biological burden. For 300,000 years, the human brain endured the ice ages, the megafauna, the starvation, and the tribal violence. It survived by learning to be terrified. It learned to anticipate the worst, to feel the crushing weight of every unknown variable, to treat every shadow as a potential grave. That brain is the brain you have right now. It is the same brain, running the exact same software, sitting in a climate-controlled room, worrying about a presentation next Tuesday. The modern world has eradicated almost all the physical threats that forged our consciousness, but it has not eradicated the consciousness itself. We are left with the hypervigilance of a hunted animal, stripped of the predators that gave that vigilance meaning. You are lying in bed. The room is completely dark. The house is silent. But your chest is tight and your heart is hammering. You are not broken. You are not defective. You are simply a ghost, haunted by the echoes of a brutal, ancient past. You are a creature built for the savannah, trapped in a cage of your own making, listening to the phantom footsteps of predators that died out millennia ago. And the most tragic part is not that the alarm is ringing. The most tragic part is that there is no one left to save you from it. We are the beneficiaries of a brutal, unforgiving evolutionary process. Every single one of your ancestors survived long enough to reproduce. They survived by being paranoid, by being anxious, by being terrified of the dark. Their trauma is encoded in your DNA. Their fear is the foundation of your consciousness. And now, in the ultimate irony of human progress, we have used our highly evolved brains to build a world that completely invalidates the very traits that allowed us to survive. We have conquered the physical world only to become prisoners of our own minds. The alarm system is still ringing. The cortisol is still flowing. The muscles are still primed. But the predators are gone. The savannah is gone. There is only the quiet, dark room and the relentless, inescapable echo of a past that refuses to die.